No King's Day, the storm before the silence. America, we are standing on the edge. You can feel it in the air, thick, electric, uneasy. The sound before the thunder, the breath before the storm. This weekend on October 18th, 2025, people from every corner of this country will step out into the streets for something that should not be controversial: the No King's Day protests. A simple idea: no ruler above the people, no man above the law, no king in a republic. But tonight the mood in Washington is not calm. It's fear, a lot of fear. And that fear, that trembling in the heart of power, tells you everything you need to know about how fragile this moment really is. Because make no mistake, the GOP is terrified. Trump is terrified. They won't say it out loud, of course. They'll laugh on Fox News. They'll roll their eyes. They say it again and again. Nobody's going to show up. Like if they are so scared to see millions of people asking the dictator to leave. But they're lying. They're scared because they know what happens when free people finally decide to show up. They know that silence is their ally, and the sound of footsteps is their nightmare. Let me tell you what's really happening behind the curtains. The White House, Trump's inner circle, they've been meeting all week, just about those protests. They are talking about chaos and war, not peace. They're not preparing for protests, they're preparing for control and eventually a civil war. Sources say they've discussed crowd management, but that's not what this is. It's a military playbook, the same strategy used in foreign coups, now aimed at the streets of America. You can already hear the rhetoric: domestic terrorism, Antifa, radicals. They are building the narrative brick by brick to turn peaceful Americans into the enemy, so that when the first camera pans to the first skirmish, Trump can step to a podium and say, "I warned you, the country's under attack, and I will restore order." That's not leadership. That's the language of a coup d'etat. That's what authoritarians do when the people refuse to kneel. And it's not just Trump, the entire right wing machine is in motion. Fox News hosts like Sean Hannity and Stephen Miller are playing their part, whispering to viewers, "Stay home, don't go, be calm." Why? Because they know what happens if even 3.5% of this country, just a fraction, stands up and says no. No kings in the American Republic. This land is our republic, not their kingdom. 3.5%. That's all it takes to change the course of history through peaceful resistance. That's the number that broke empires, toppled dictators, and rewrote nations. And right now, we are dangerously close to that number. That's why Trump is panicking. That's why his allies are calling for restraint. Not because they care about peace, but because they fear exposure. They know that a massive, peaceful movement on October 18th will destroy their narrative, the one they've built around fear, violence, and chaos. But it has to be peaceful. If millions of Americans march, calmly, proudly, it will show the world that the radicals are not in the streets, but they are already paying agitators to go and burn cars, destroy shops, steal supermarkets, and they will blame the peaceful people of America. Let's show the word or that the radicals, they're in the Oval Office, not on the street of our republic. This is bigger than politics. This is about the survival of a free nation. And here's the ugly truth: Trump doesn't want peace. He wants a trigger. He wants something, anything, to justify bringing out the military. Because that's how you crush dissent. That's how you silence opposition. That's how you take democracy and strangle it under the pretense of law and order. He knows this playbook. He studied it, admired it. Look at how he talks about dictators: Putin, Kim, Orban. He doesn't fear them. He envies them because they never have to face their people. And that's exactly what terrifies him about No King's Day. He knows he can't hide from it. Now imagine it. Dawn breaks over Washington, D.C. The streets fill, slowly, then steadily. Flags, banners, families, people carrying signs that simply say, "No kings," peaceful,
determined, voices rising, not in violence, but in unity. And then the response: the barricades go up, the drones hover overhead.
Every camera trained on the crowd, waiting, begging for one spark of chaos, because that's what they need. They want chaos to show on Fox News to scare the people from the countryside. One spark, and Trump will step in front of the cameras, look into the lens, and say, I warned you, America is under siege, and I will restore order. He will use any small chaos to justify a crackdown. He'll call it protection. He'll say it's for our safety. But what it really is control. Control through fear, control through force, control through the illusion that he alone can save us from a threat he invented. And that, my friends, is how democracies die. Not in one explosion, but in a slow, methodical suffocation of dissent. You've seen this before. In history books, in foreign headlines, in documentaries about the fall of free nations. It always starts the same way. A leader paints his critics as enemies. The press becomes the enemy of the people. Protests become terrorism. Laws are twisted. The military is called in. And when it's over, when the streets are silent, when the prisons are full, when fear replaces hope, the people look around and realize, in our republic, there are no place for kings, because the king has already taken everything. That's why October 18th matters. This is not just another protest. This is a test of courage, not just for the protesters, but for the entire nation. Will we show up? Will we stand tall, knowing the risk? Or will we stay home, afraid that our presence might cause discomfort to a tyrant in waiting? Because that's what he wants, our fear. That's what every dictator feeds on, the fear of the free. They want you to believe you're powerless. They want you to believe that standing up will only bring pain, but history belongs to those who stand anyway. Bailolo. And let's be clear, the danger is real. Reports are already emerging of arrests, intimidation, even lists of organizers being circulated through law enforcement channels. Peaceful protest is being rebranded as extremism. That's not law and order. That's state sanctioned fear. And when Trump's people talk about investigating the funders, they don't mean violent agitators. They mean citizens. They mean activists. They mean you. That's the darkness we're staring into. I'll say it again. Trump is scared. The GOP is scared because they know something they won't admit on air. You can't arrest an idea. You can't silence a movement that doesn't break. And you can't control people who have lost their fear. That's what No King's Day represents, the refusal to live on our knees. So yes, Trump will threaten. He'll talk about domestic terrorism. He'll call in the National Guard if he can. He'll point at a handful of agitators and pretend they speak for millions. But deep down, he knows the truth. He's not fighting anarchists. He's fighting democracy itself and our republic. America, this is the moment. This is where history looks at us and asks, did we bow or did we stand for our republic? Because if we bow, if fear wins, then the free people of this nation will fade quietly into the shadows of history. But if we stand, if we march, if we sing, if we refuse to kneel, then we remind the world that America is not a man, not a party, not a king. It's an idea. And ideas cannot be crushed. So when they say stay home, remember this. They're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves. They're not warning of chaos. They're terrified of peace because peaceful power, visible, united, unstoppable, is what authoritarians fear most. And when those crowds rise on October 18th, from Washington to Los Angeles, from Austin to Chicago, Trump will see what he fears most of all, a nation that refuses to kneel. The question is, will you be there to make him see it?